Hey everyone, this is Geeky Vices with J-Belle, where everything is unrehearsed, unedited, and unhip. I talk about my random bits of geekdom and pop culture that have just randomly caught my interest of late, and usually it's not the most latest and greatest, it's usually just random. Sometimes it's me rewatching something from years and years ago. It's all about or what grabs my attention span. So, and although I will say this week, I am actually into something that is current. Shocking. But, yeah, so it's the latest Dragon Ball movie, which I saw this weekend. Dragon Ball Super Brawly, which was, before I get into spoilers, I think, it was great. I highly recommend it for any DBZ or DB Super. I don't know if it's being called DBS or what. I'm not hip enough to know. But yeah, it was definitely pretty much, just the shorthand, just of my opinion, it was pretty much everything you would want from a Dragon Ball movie. So, to give you guys a little bit of a background about where I am with the whole Dragon Ball universe, I first started watching when I was in high school, back when I was on Toonami in the afternoons, and I didn't even start from the beginning. It was just I randomly started watching it while they were on the Namek episodes, and I remember them getting to the part where they're fighting the Ginyu Force, and before they even fight Ginyu, I think it was like when it was Raccoon, that was the last episode they had already dubbed, so the series just stopped and started all over again. So it was very much confusing, but it was kind of cool actually like waiting for a series for the new episodes to come up to know what the next part of the story is, and especially for something that like there was this giant build up for. So I have seen all of DBZ. I've seen a decent chunk of Dragon Ball, not all of it, but a decent chunk. I've a couple of episodes of GT, and I have to admit I have not been keeping up with Supers myself. I've been told the overall gist of it because the significant other has been keeping up with it on a weekly basis. I will sometimes just be in the room while he's watching his episodes, but I have not been actively watching it. But I do know the overall thing. Like I know about Barris and Weiss, and I know about the Tournament Power and Universe 7 and all that. So I do know things. I do know about the newer transformations and such. But so that's just a little backstory on where I am as far as the Dragon Ball uh, knowledge base goes. But I will say I've never seen anything with Brawly before. I haven't seen that many of the movies because, as I said, I watched back when things were on Toonami, and the few times that Cartoon Network would usually show the Dragon Ball movies was when I usually had soccer practice, or my family a family member wanted to use the one TV in the household, so I didn't get to watch the movie. But so yeah, I don't have any of that background. Although I do know that he has been in a few of the other non-canon movies, and that apparently he's supposed to be the inspiration for one of the characters in Dragon Ball Super, Khalifa, I believe, like Kale and Khalifa, like how one of them, like how they're random Saiyans that were, because they're from another universe, but they are basically raised separately, but like how one of them gets like into this hyper rage state that makes her ridiculously powerful, and I've been told that that's supposed to be inspired by Brawly. So, anyways, spoilers are about to abound. I will say though, it is really cool that something from my childhood is still relevant to the current generation, which is so weird to me. Like I recently saw some kids in the grocery store like reading books, and one of them was reading like a Pokemon book, and the other one was like a My Little Pony book. I'm like, those were things from my childhood. Yes, these are new reiterations, but those were still things that were big in my childhood. So it's just interesting how like things either kept on going on, like Pokemon never stopped, or how they've been reimagined and are still really big. I mean, My Little Pony is much bigger than it ever was when I was a kid, and I had a huge collection of original My Little Ponies, and I loved the My Little Pony series and movies as a kid. Even though I will say that the newer one is definitely much better in quality. But yeah, Dragon Ball, as I said, like it's cool that there is such a solid quality version of it that's still going strong, like for a whole new generation, because it's such an iconic anime. I mean, it was one of the first animes to really break it big. Like before, I mean, like this and Sailor Moon were like the two main animes that were really managed to break that barrier and like cross in the mainstream before anime became so commonplace as it's today. Like back in the day when you I mean, I had a friend back in the 90s who would order bootleg VHSs on the internet. I inherited those from her for a while until my VCR died and it wasn't worth the money to buy a new one, but still. Anyways, on to the actual movie. As I said, gist of it is it's pretty much everything you would want from a Dragon Ball movie. It it starts off with it being back in the past, back when King Cold passes the reins of the kingdom to Lord Frieza, and he gives this announcement on planet Vegeta. So we get to see we get to see the Saiyan race back when they were strong, and we get to see Vegeta's dad, we get to see Goku's dad, we get to see Broly's dad, we get to see all the dads, and we actually get to see a little bit of Goku's mom, a little tiny bit of Goku's brother, although the part of him in there does not really matter. But hey, that we got to see actual female Saiyans, which were not very commonly shown before the Tournament of Power. But yeah, and let's see what else. So yeah, we got to see that. It was cool, and we get to see why Broly's raised the way he is, and how messed up his dad is, and how messed up Vegeta's dad is, and Goku's dad actually is not messed up. Like, he's the only one who didn't have a really messed up parent, although he was definitely, like, he wasn't, like, warm and cuddly, but, like, you're like, okay, you're kind of, I mean, you could definitely say that besides Goku being the Monkey King, a legend from Eastern culture, like, the fact, especially, like, in Dragon Ball, like, the fact that he had the flying cloud, and he had the rod that grew big, and these type of things for, like, the Monkey King legend. He also very much is, like, the Japanese Superman, because if you think about it, he was sent from a dying homeworld onto Earth to be raised by a human parent, and he's, like, ridiculously more powerful than us, and just, like, just watching that bit, it's, like, even more so, it's, like, you're Superman, you're Clark Kent. Especially since you have two different names, like, I mean, you're Goku and Kakarot, same as Clark Kent is also known as Kal-El. It's like, okay, you got multiple names, and depending on who it is, we'll call you different names. So, yeah, there's that. But yeah, we get to see a little bit of downtime with Bulma, and we get to see a little bit of Barris and Whis, although they don't really matter too much in the storyline, except for the fact that someone stole the Dragon Balls that Bulma was collecting, and it turns out to be Frieza, and I'm not going to spoil what Frieza wanted to wish for, but it's very amusing, and it's very amusing, the parallel to what Bulma was going to be wishing for, because, yes, you're going to think it's, like, funny that someone's going to waste Shenron's power for that, but, hey, it's a matter of what matters to you. But, yeah, and we get these random little side characters who discover Broly and Broly's dad and bring him out. And we see that he's pretty innocent, but he's had a very tough life. Like, he has water for the first time because he had to live on this ridiculously harsh planet where he just had to constantly fight. And it's just, you can see, like, that there's this innocence to him. Like, it's kind of like how Goku's, like, childlike. But it's like, I imagine it's kind of like if Goku had, like, hadn't had a loving childhood, like, Goku could have probably turned out like Broly, honestly. But yeah, so yeah, there's good humor to it, and there's appropriate build up to everything, and then, like, once everyone meets, it's very action fast. Like, the fights are like boom, 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 and this brings me up to my one complaint about the whole movie: the music during the fights things. Like, I wish they just kept the instrumental, because there's this parts where weirdly you'll hear someone be like, the vocals are like, if it's Broly, it's like, go Broly, go Broly. Or if it's Vegeta, it's like, go Vegeta, go Vegeta. And it's like, dude, you're distracting me from watching this really fast-paced, intense fight scene. Don't bother with these weird vocals, especially when it feels like it's back in the 90s. This isn't made in the 90s. This is 20, I was going to say 2018, but I guess it's been released in 2019. It's like, don't use the dated, weird music that's distracting. But yeah, as far as the fighting, like the graphics are great. Like, the fighting is great. Like, they do a good job of escalating. You can see, like, Broly is just powerful, and, like, he kind of just, like, builds up to match whatever they consume. And like as I said, it's pretty much everything hope for. Like you just see them like keep on beefing up their transformations, and like you're being like, oh, and Frieza's disappointed. Raleigh can't turn Super Saiyan, but he figures it out because from observing them, and like he figures things out just from observing them. And yeah, you get to see the whole succession of like, you get to see the pink hair, you get to see the blue hair, and you get to see the fusions. Which for Vegeta, it's his first time ever fusing, and they have to go back to Piccolo to do this. And they do have the infamous like mess ups where they don't line up right. Although they didn't do the pinky wrong, they had it so one of the times the fingers didn't line up. But yeah, like they became like, I can't remember the names of the non Gogeta forms, but like the one where it's like he's super fat and doesn't work. And then they did the one, and then you think they're all lined up for the second attempt, but it turns out like one's at 60 degrees, the other one's at 40 degrees, and so their angles are off. And so they turn out into the one that's really emaciated and looks like he has never eaten a meal in his life. But they do eventually turn into Gogeta, and he's becomes blue-haired Gogeta, so like super, super powerful. And yeah, it's just, as I said, the fight definitely escalates, and things happen. The way that, I'm not going to spoil things, but the way that Broly is defeated feels appropriate to me. And the fact that like Goku does admit, it's like, you don't feel like an enemy. It's like, yeah, he's not really an enemy. He's just kind of like was tricked and has just gone into a rage state, and he's just kind of matching whatever is thrown at him. But yeah, in the end, like Broly's still alive, back on his planet, and like along with the two little NPC characters who found him in the first place, they defect from the Frieza Corps and become like decide to live on that harsh planet. And then Goku uses instant transmission to basically bring some capsule core tech. And yeah, as I said, I would highly recommend it to any Dragon Ball fans, new or old alike. You don't really have to be keeping up with what's been going on. I think if you've seen most of I think if you've seen like a good amount of it, you'll get it. It doesn't really matter too much. They mention who characters are. You'll understand what's going on pretty quickly, or like you can or you'll figure it out. Like what if there's a gap in your knowledge? It's like, why is Frieza alive? That doesn't make sense. Daddy dynamic. And it's like it's fine. If you haven't been keeping up and don't know why, it's like just mention the disbelief it and you'll be good. So yeah, I definitely highly recommend it. It was fun. It definitely makes me more inspired to finally get around to watching Dragon Ball Super. One of these days I'm gonna finish my Dragon Ball Z marathoning. Like I got all the, like I was like doing DBZ Kai, I think, for all the way, like I got through all the Frieza arc, but I was like in the middle of like, it was before the Cell Sagas, but like it was when it was still like them going after the androids, like 17, 18 when I last stopped. That was a few years ago, but I do want to resume. And then I'm going to take my time when it's the Saiyaman arc, because that's my favorite arc of the series, because I love Gohan. I love Videl. Them together make me happy. And that was just like a fun little arc of the series. And so, yeah. And also Cell was a legitimately badass enemy. So like it was, I mean, as much as Frieza was a over the top crazy enemy, like Cell is my next favorite enemy. Like honestly, like sometimes with the Boo arc, sometimes I'm just like, sometimes it felt a little tedious to me. So, yeah, that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoy. Until next time, and continue enjoying your own geeky vices. And see you then. Alright, bye.